Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Jen Zerkat, Marketing Director here at Minoan. I'm thrilled to be your host for today's session. I'm interested to know how many Minoan members on this call are here today. So if you want, just drop your name in the chat. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Minoan, we are a free centralized ordering platform that allows hosts, property managers, designers, and boutique hotels to furnish and replenish spaces with top brands on a budget. We actually work very closely with today's special guests, the brilliant minds behind Somerled Designs, Bri and Jordan McDonough. Bri and Jordan are trailblazers in the short-term rental market. They're known for taking a data-driven approach to what is otherwise a super creative endeavor, which is interior design. And they've mastered the art of transforming vacation rentals into not just highly profitable ventures, but gorgeous properties. So we're so excited that they're here today to share their invaluable insights with all of us. Just a few housekeeping items before we dive into the good stuff. The chat is open, like I said, if you want to react to any takeaways, but we'll also be having a Q&A at the end. So feel free to put any questions that you have for that Q&A into the chat, and we'll try to address as many of those as possible at the very end. So everyone is muted by default, but please remain muted throughout the presentation so we can all hear Bri and Jordan. So without further ado, let's begin. Bri, Jordan, thank you both for joining us today. Again, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan so she can tell our audience a bit about herself and the incredible work they're doing at Somerled Designs.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jen. We are so excited to be here and so thrilled to be partnering with Minoan. I will be talking more about, what our partnership looks like with Minoan and how we really work together in the space. They truly are trailblazers themselves within the industry. And so it's just so much fun to be able to work with them. And again, I'll touch on how we can, continue to work together in the future. So just a little bit about Somerled. So I am Jordan McDonough. My business partner is on here, Bri West, and we're both going to be presenting today on the goal of how the STR design can maximize ROI. So we're really going to help you reframe your perspective on what interior design is specifically for short-term rentals. Whether you be a seasoned investor, you're just getting into the industry, you maybe have multiple properties or just one, this is very valuable information that I hope you can all have amazing tools and takeaways by the very end of this presentation. That is our main goal, is to help you maximize ROI, and design is an amazing tool in order to get there. And so again, I'm Jordan. So Bri will be touching on, a few things just to kind of set the stage of, why design is important and what our services and, insight on design can really help us, boost ROI, get those bookings that you're desiring. And of course, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews that your guests are just going to be hoping and vying to leave once they stay at your incredible property.
Yeah. And hi, you guys. I am Bri. So we're really excited about this conversation and very passionate about short-term rental investing and design, and why, there are strategies involved in this. It's not, just jumping into design and shooting in the dark. There are a lot of strategies that we want to empower you guys to be thinking about beforehand so that you're setting your property up correctly. And by way of introduction to myself, I started as an investor, and I've been investing for 3 years now. I own 14 short-term rental properties and love doing it. That started as my passion. And as we all know, since we're, all either investors ourselves or interested in short-term rental investing, it's very profitable, but the industry is changing. So I wanted to call out a few stats that we want to be thinking about, because, there are continuously more hosts on the platform. And to be exact, 14,000 new hosts are entering the Airbnb platform on average every single month. And there's 5 million hosts worldwide. So the short-term rental industry is becoming more competitive than ever, which not necessarily is the worst thing. It's just that things are changing and design is staying with it. So we want you guys to be ahead of the curve. And, that's why we're here today, to teach you about those strategies when it comes to design. So I want to talk for a sec about average properties and why they are not working anymore. This picture on the right is not one of our designs, but probably similar to a lot of designs that you have seen when you're looking on Airbnb. You know, it's very basic, very gray. The photography is poor, and it's just like a sofa in a living room and very boring. There's no experience here. There's nothing exciting. It is just absolutely just, I guess, simply a place to stay. So these are average properties. And what we're seeing in the industry is that these average properties are getting beat out and their occupancy is lower. They're struggling to break even. It's not a sustainable business when in the past this used to work. And we're telling you guys now that it's not working anymore. And we see the trends that it'll continue. These properties will continue to be phased out. And this is my perspective, is nothing super technical here, just from what I have seen in the investing short-term rental industry, what the timeline has been. So I wanted to start in the beginning. You know, Airbnb, the platform, launched in 2009, and not to say Airbnb is the only way you can operate as a short-term rental. Short-term rentals have been around for a long time, just more in a direct booking sense. But the platform Airbnb launched in 2009, and that was a huge turning point that then enabled hosts to own their own business essentially and not have to work so much with property management companies and those direct booking sites, but to really do it on their own. But what that turned into in the beginning was people who were just kind of, in this 2010 to 2015 phase, like this rent my basement, just really scrappy with design and just honestly a bed to sleep on. I don't know if you guys have heard the origin story of Airbnb, but their CEO named it Airbnb. He's the CEO and founder still today. And it was because he rented out his place in San Francisco with an air mattress on the floor. So that's literally the origins of Airbnb, is an air mattress. And that's why it's tied the air in Airbnb name. So that was the start. And then we saw in 2015 to 2019 that there were some investors that started to come in, but they had the mindset of keeping expenses very low. So furnishing with like IKEA furniture, really just the minimal furniture. And then another huge turning point in the short-term rental industry was COVID. So COVID, as we know, things were shut down, not as many travelers, and it did hurt a lot of hosts. And these people who were, just doing this low expense option, not having great design, really did start to get weeded out. They were losing money on their properties and turned them maybe into long-term rentals or sold or kind of got out of the industry. Then post-COVID, we're seeing that the Airbnb trend is going back up and people are traveling again. And so investors came back in. We know the history of interest rates and home prices during 2021. They were crazy. So many investors were capitalizing on those years and coming in with that investor business mindset. So we really saw in 2022 that there was this light bulb moment. Investors really were taking it seriously and like a business. And with any business, you're going to come in with a strategy, with a marketing plan. And one of the best ways to market your property is through design, amenities, experiences. So fast forward to today, 2023 to present, we believe you really cannot survive in this industry without professional design, professional hospitality, and a really great experience. And again, we see that curve, that trend continuing. And so we want to stay ahead of that curve. So what we want to talk about today is, how can you make your short-term rental property stand out in today's ultra-saturated prop market so that, like Jordan touched on, all of our goals are to maximize occupancy, always rent at the top of the market, and have guests eager to leave you a 5-star review. And our answer is research-backed design, if you guys haven't gathered that already. But now we're going to get into, more of the logistics of how we think and what the strategy is to approach this research-backed design.
Yeah, so we truly believe that what research-backed design is, it is very different than a normal interior design approach. So you might be interested in other interior designers, maybe on Instagram, who they are usually, residential, high-end residential interior designers. And that approach is very much of a personal preference approach to interior design. It is, asking the client, okay, what do you like? What are you doing in order to create this space that is essentially for your personal preference. But what we do is we back all of our decision making on data. And so we take a really close look at all of the markets that, our clients are investing in, why people are traveling to those areas. And why we say research back is because all of our decisions are based on that data and research that we compile. That is very extensive. And that is what we do before we even jump into the decision making for the design. And so like Bri touched on, design truly is the #1 factor that will distinguish you from your competitors. It is essentially your main marketing tool for all these platforms, whether it be Airbnb, direct booking, or on Vrbo. It is your marketing tool. These photos of the property, that is how you are going to attract bookings. That is how you're going to attract your ideal guest. And so design truly is an investment. And so we're going to be shifting your perspective a little bit. This isn't just an expense. Design, furnishing, contractor work, that isn't an expense for your overall profitability of your property. It is truly an investment. And we know that really great design is what leads to, higher ROI and will help your property perform better. And so again, just shifting that perspective a little bit, it is going to cost a little bit more upfront, but we know that it will have a larger return in the long run. So I'm just going to touch a little bit more on, what SummerLed does and how we really, are the solution to that problem that Bri painted so perfectly. We know that it has gotten so competitive in this Airbnb market, and our approach to design is very different than what you would find in a normal interior design company, because we are investors ourselves. Like Bri mentioned, she has multiple properties, has been doing this for a little over 3 years, investing with her husband, and that's how we got started. So my background is interior design. I am more of a creative. I started in the art industry, and we joined forces once she started investing in more competitive markets in Scottsdale and in Phoenix a few years back. She reached out to me, and she comes from a very impressive marketing background. And so she took a look at her own property as her own business and wanted to invest in marketing, or in this case, it was design. And so we collaborated. We knew that we needed to stand out from the competition and create a really incredible experiential design for her listing. And a really good thing was going, and now we're able to offer the same service to all of you and so many other clients that we have seen incredible profitability from their properties because of our approach to interior design, specifically for short-term rentals. I also failed to mention that we have multiple SummerLed Design designers and team members on this call today too. And we would just absolutely love to work with you. We also have Audrey, who is our marketing director over on the SummerLed side. And just as another reminder, our chat box is open. Please drop as many questions in there. We would love to get to as many questions as we can at the very end. And then Audrey will be the one, reading back all of those questions for us, so we can, just make sure that this time is well spent and we are getting to the things that you're really looking for to get out of this presentation. Okay, so what are the goals? Bri has touched on this, but your goals as an investor, as a property owner, your goals are to increase revenue, attract more bookings, outshine competition, and cash flow as soon as possible. And so we believe that design truly is the way in order to achieve all of those goals. And so we're going to jump into, our approach to design and what our 6 principles are before we even, get started on jumping into a client's project.
Yeah. So to start off, we've been talking about this research-backed design. So I want to go more in depth of what we are looking for when first approaching a property. So when we are starting out, we, we like to look at the market as a whole first. We are going to take notes of everything, look at as many travel blogs as possible, just look online for any little details of why people are going to be traveling to this property. And we take a look at seasonality, we take a look at big events that are happening in the area, and just what are the overall trends of the market. So we start broad, then we're going to narrow down and look at the property specifically, proximity of that property to any, beach or any lake or any main conference center or event. Like, what is that property going to be best suited for? Because later on, we start with this funnel, and towards the end, we're going to get very narrow into the target audience, but we need to gather all this information first. We will also look at the property and note how many bedrooms there are, which is going to determine which audience will be the best fit for the property. Then looking at more competitors in the area. We start with the market, what are the top competitors, because they're at the top for a reason. So we're going to know all the amenities that they offer. We're going to know what design trends are in the area. We're also going to know, how many guests are they sleeping? So if it's so say we're looking at a 4-bed property, we're gonna look at other 4-bed properties, how many guests are they sleeping? So we wanna be competitive with that guest count and get a good number that's going to, keep you competitive, but also still be comfortable in the home, because we don't wanna sleep too many people and there's not enough bathrooms. But we're thinking through all these things. This is more the research gathering stage. Another point is to look outwards to other markets. So say you are in a sub-market in Florida, we're going to look to some bigger, more competitive markets like Fort Lauderdale or Miami to look at what are their trends, because they are probably ahead of the curve. And we want to look to what are amenities in these larger, similar markets that we can bring into your market to keep you ahead of the curve and keep you more competitive. So we'll look at top properties in other markets as well. So now we have all this information gathered, and we are going to draw some conclusions and come up with a strategy. So we want to draw conclusions on that target audience. It is so important to know your audience. Like we mentioned, we're not designing for our own personal preferences or our clients' personal preferences. This is a business. We're designing for the guest. So we will define who the audience is. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit broader, just depending on the market and depending on our strategy. We may say, okay, we're going to target families and friend groups. Sometimes it's going to be very niche, like we're going to target a bachelorette party. You see here in this image the property that we did in Fort Lauderdale, and it was a girls group. This was a really fun club room with the disco balls and a stage with karaoke, but that was very niche. And what we'll do to determine what's the best audience, we're going to have our goals in mind, and we're going to remember that we want the most occupancy and the highest nightly rate. So with the nightly rates, we want to think through which audience will be willing to pay a premium, and is this audience going to keep you occupied enough? Very niche audiences are great because they want a niche, unique experience and are willing to pay for it. But we also need to consider they're probably going to be booking more on the weekends and not as much during the weekdays. So we'll run the numbers. It's unique to our design business that we are so numbers based, but that's the yin and yang to me and Jordan. I love the marketing and numbers, and she loves the creative and the design. But we'll look at the numbers and say, here is this case scenario and how, our projections for the nightly rate and occupancy versus this scenario with this occupant or this target audience, and what would that nightly rate look like and that occupancy, and find the best solution, because the goal here is ROI. So once we have defined the target audience, we're also going to create a story behind this audience, because as we're designing for that person. So we're going to determine what are some activities this audience may be doing while they're at the property or in the area. What are some of their personal preferences, their buying trends, and just get in their head so that as we're designing, we are remembering them. So going on to amenity strategy, this is something that we also determine before we jump in design. We're not getting in design and just shooting in the dark. We have to have a strategy ahead of time. So amenities are key investment pieces. They can be expensive, if you're putting in a putting green or if you're putting in a pool, but those, if we're choosing the right amenities, those are going to yield a return. So it truly is an investment. And we'll do, amenity selection, we'll, look at competing properties and what are the non-negotiables in your area. And if it's in Scottsdale, we're probably going to have a non-negotiable. We need to have a pool in the backyard or some sort of water feature, because people are traveling here in the winter time to be outside, and we're going to fall short of one of those top properties if we aren't having those non-negotiable amenities. Then we're going to get creative with amenities and select a few amenities that are unique, that we aren't seeing anyone in the market offering, because we want to stay ahead of the curve and we want to stand out from competition. But when we're selecting amenities that have not been done before in the market, we need to be very tactful. And that's why the target audience analysis is important, because we will determine, what are their interests and what would get them to say, wow, that is unique. That is something that I would love to have. The goal here is for the people who are looking at your listing to send it to their friends. We have to rent this place. That is how we can have that maximum return. So I'm going to go back to this picture, this club room, we like to call it, in Fort Lauderdale. We didn't see it at all in the market, but we understood our bachelorette audience. And one of the top activities that bachelorette parties do is go, to a karaoke bar. And so we brought that inside of the home. This was a large bonus space that, initially we're like, do we do a game room? Do we have a pool table? And you know what? Getting in our audience's head, those girls won't just play a game of pool together, but they would love to mix up some cocktails, sit in this club room, have some fun on stage, and that will be an experience that they don't have to leave the property for. And it's like this exclusive experience. So this property is renting like crazy because we were very tactful on this unique amenity.
I love it. So just piggybacking off of that, everything comes back to the research in that target audience. And so what we do then, we're starting to get now into more of the design elements of the property. So we determine a theme for the home. So we really try to look at, okay, for the example that Bri mentioned, that Airbnb that we knew was going to be bachelorette theme, we wanted to accommodate for this ideal guest in that property. This picture, for example, is actually located in Kissimmee, which is right out of Orlando, Florida. So there's lots of theme parks, whether that be Universal Studios, Disney World. And so we created an incredible theme for this property that had, lots of nods to different characters and movies that were incorporated into these theme parks. And so this really fun room, it was a nod to Minions. We had these really great custom beds made. We had incredible wallpaper, fun lighting, and really creating an overall experience for the guests. For this property in particular, we knew it was going to be families. We knew that, okay, for this room in particular, we were going to do twin beds instead of one big king bed. There are so many things that go into, the strategy of the design before we actually source the furniture. So we first determined that theme. So a theme doesn't have to be, a bachelorette theme or, for this case, like a Minion theme. It really does just have to do with a consistent design throughout the property. So let's say like a property that is Columbus, Ohio, or somewhere in the Poconos, or another market that doesn't necessarily have, scream in your face, like we want to do something very, very theme and niche. We tend to do a design that is a little bit more universal, that can accommodate, families, friends, or couples or groups of friends. And we do try to make something that is, universal and can accommodate lots of different kinds of people. But a theme is still very important. Determining the design style, determining the color palette beforehand is so important before we actually jump into the overall design, because that is what is going to create a very consistent and cohesive design element. When you are taking photos of the property, you want to look at all of them collectively and feel, okay, this is a very cohesive design that is very appealing to the eye and will definitely appeal to your ideal guest when they are looking on these different platforms. So a theme is so important, whether it be super themed and very niche or something that is a little bit more universal, and it always ties back to that market research and the ideal guest and the ideal audience for these designs. And so with that, we always look at the local inspiration. So locality is just a very important process within our design strategy. And so obviously a home in Phoenix, Arizona is going to look very different than a cabin in the Poconos, and we want it to be different. Your guests are choosing that location before they are choosing your property. So find out, why are they traveling to this property? Are they coming as a girls group? Are they coming for a conference? Are they coming for a family reunion? You really need to determine that ideal guest and then incorporate lots of local elements into this design. And so this picture, for example, Scottsdale, Arizona, we knew that a really great mural was imperative for, girl groups to take photos in front of. But let's say it is a cabin in the Poconos, we're probably going to incorporate some really great artwork that will, have a nod to the exterior surroundings. We will incorporate, a color palette that will be found in nature, have greens and browns and neutrals. Whereas here, we have some pinks, and then maybe a lighter green that you would find in the desert of Scottsdale, Arizona, versus a different location. So local inspiration is so important. Even if you are not a local in the region that you are investing in, do your research, find out what people are doing in order to come to this location, because they again are choosing that location before they are choosing your property. So having that local insight, local inspiration, and then even incorporating things that are a nod to the history or a nod to the things that they will be doing in this location is just going to really help your property stand out from competition. So I can't stress enough how important local design is just so important to incorporate for all of those goals that we mentioned, for boosting that ROI, boosting that occupancy rate, and of course, charging a premium. And then finally, a pop on Airbnb and Vrbo. So I mentioned before that we are designing as a marketing tool. And so photos are so important. Do not go and take photos with your iPhone, or to not hire a professional photographer. This is just a really important aspect of your overall listing and marketing your property. And so we always try to incorporate things that we know are going to stand out on like the continuous scroll of Airbnb and Vrbo. When people are booking, they're scrolling quick, and what is going to make them stop in their tracks and take a click and a look at your listing? And so these are really fun examples of more bachelorette themed Airbnbs in Nashville, Tennessee. We like to incorporate photo moments. What is also going to stand out for guests and create an experience where they want to stop, take a photo, share with their friends, share on their social media. That is free marketing. So incorporate some photo elements that will really stand out, not only on your listing, but then also for your guests to enjoy and want to post about as well. So again, this is a very different mindset of just traditional interior design. This is a marketing strategy. So you want to pop and stand out on these listings like Airbnb and Vrbo.
Yeah, and with that said as well, we do like to strategize what are going to be those top photo moments before we jump into design. Truly, like, there should be a lot of time in the strategy phase so that we're getting it right in the design, or if you're doing it on your own, getting it right. So what should your top 5 photos be? We want to start with those amenities. So if you're in a warm area like Florida or Scottsdale, it's most likely going to be your backyard, because that's what people want to see. That's why they're booking. So making sure that the outdoors we're investing quite a bit of design to really make that hero shot pop. And then on the interior side, we're going to look for the next photos, look at maybe a game room amenity, if there's a theater room, living room areas, like gathering spaces are important. Then next, maybe we go into the bedrooms. It's a little bit opposite from selling a home. The kitchen and the bathroom are usually left towards the end, because people are just renting these short term. They're not going to be living there. So we may not invest as much in a kitchen or a bathroom as we are in those amenities and the bedrooms and the living room. So it's all about that strategy of what is important to the guests, and that's what we need to invest in. Some other strategies to make sure that those photos really stand out are, some fun wallpapers and prints and things that, like, think viral. If it can go viral on social media, it will go viral on these platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo, because it's going to just stand out and pop, and it's going to catch their attention. And that's what we're looking for in those hero shots. So we're going to add some great neon signs or some art installations, texture, color. And going back to that first photo of the average property that was gray, that would be a scroll past, where this one may be like, wow, I'm interested in this. So photos are so important. And one other thing to note on photos is, as you are selecting a photographer, the best photographers are booked out far in advance. So make sure you are thinking of the photographers early on. I would say booking them like 4 weeks before you're, planning to do the photo shoot, so that you're making sure you have the best photographer, and select a photographer that is within the style of the design. So this one, for example, is bright, fun, bachelorette. We selected a photographer for that, versus a cabin property is a little bit more moody and it's cozy. And that's the experience that we want to sell to that client, because that's what they're looking for. They're coming from a big city and wanting to stay in a cabin. So we're going to maybe choose a photographer that can incorporate, that moody, cozy style, not like a bright, saturated pop. Okay, moving on to the 6th point is design with management in mind. So this is very important, and we want to set you up for success. So as we're designing, we're thinking through wear and tear. And some key points to think about here are, Your rugs are usually the first ones that, you have first items that you have to replace. So stay away from high pile rugs, like those shag rugs, or if you're going to put a rug under a dining table, make sure it's an outdoor rug so it's easier to clean. Also thinking through the high traffic areas like a living room or a dining room that are going to be used quite a bit. We want to have nice sturdy pieces in those areas, but then we can save on budget for like maybe on a nightstand or a dresser, something that's more low traffic. So it's having that balance. Really the game is making sure that we are spending the right amount of money so that you're getting the highest return on investment. And I really think about it like a bell curve. If we're spending not enough money, not investing enough in design, then you're going to fall into an average property category. And that's not where we want to be. But if you spend too much and have like every furniture piece is super high end, then, or, going too much on design and spending too much, then you're not getting a good return. So you want to find that middle ground. And we like to do that when we're thinking through furniture of where can we spend, where can we save, what is going to make sense, with this management in mind. I also wanted to point out one of our tips with management in mind is selecting bedding that is standardized. So you see like this white bedding and sheets. I incorporate this into my properties because we're growing our portfolio and I can't remember in this bedroom, in this home, it is this sheet and this blanket and it's too much. So have some standardization in your property, and bedding is a great way to standardize. And we like to stick to hotel standards. So having that crisp white look that guests can feel comfortable in, they know that it's clean, but then add customization within the design, like with some fun accent pillows, and it'll just make your life easier for management. Another tip on management is those fire pits. We love a good fire pit in the backyard, but sometimes it can be quite a lot to replace the propane tanks very often. So if that is going to be a challenge in management, a few tips that I have are to, my number one option is to connect the fire pit and the grill to a gas line. If you have a gas line at your property, that is just going to, add to your monthly gas bill, but you're not going to be switching out those propane tanks. It's an investment up front, but it really does help on the management side. Another alternative is instead of getting a small propane tank, you can get a gas company out to install a large propane tank. This usually does require pulling a permit, and I'm not here to explain how you do that, but you can contact a gas company. And those large propane tanks, you typically just have to fill on a yearly basis instead of the small ones that are switched out more frequently. Yeah, I mean, we just think through these things. There's more tips to be said about management, but those are my top ones, and just, keeping that in mind as you're designing. Okay, we wanted to just go into our service offerings, and I'm going to explain our first service offering to spoil this properties up because it's so fun. Jordan touched on it earlier. It's a Scottsdale Bachelorette property. Our client, she's named it the Holly House. So if you want to look it up on Instagram, it's so cute. The Holly House. She does a great job with the branding. But besides the point, what we offer are two services. So we have a virtual design and then a design and installation service. So the virtual design, that is great for first-time investors, people who are, more on a budget and also want to get their hands a little dirty in the setup, but they just do not want to tackle the marketing, market research, and design aspect of it. So in our virtual design service, we will be making every design decision for you. We're going to be strategizing with you, coming up with that, the research and the strategy portion, the design direction, and then selecting everything. So what a deliverable will look like with us is a design board for every room, instructions for every room, and a floor map of every room. It's really, really important to get correct measurements. And we do that at SummerLed because you want to get this property up as quickly as possible, and you do not want to deal with things not fitting and returns. So we're going to make sure that every measurement's perfect. Every furniture piece will fit in the property before we start ordering. So that's the virtual package. And then with the virtual package, our clients then go ahead and set up the property. We're going to be talking about this in a moment, but the virtual clients and that correlation with Minoan, it's so seamless, and we'll get to that in just a sec. But I wanted to touch first on the the design and then that installation package. So that's basically a done for you design where we're doing everything that the virtual package offers, but then our project management team comes in, orders all the furniture. We manage the contractors such as painters and muralists and wallpaper installers. And then our team goes out for the furniture install. So when the furniture is getting built and placed and everything hung, our team is there managing it. We're there also to put a designer touch on the property and make sure everything is perfect. And then finally, we manage the photo shoot. We're there to stage it. And then with the photographer, we make sure that all the shots are getting taken and the photography, the strategy for photography is being implemented. Okay, Jordan, do you want to go into this Minoan and Somerled?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So I just saw a question pop up. So I'm like, hey, we will touch on this for sure. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, we love working with Minoan. Minoan, like us, understands this industry so well. They provide this incredible free service for STR hosts, and they have an amazing kind of service offering that really helps all STR hosts. First and foremost, get really great discounts. So us as interior designers, we get trade discounts since we are part of the trade. But Minoan has done all the work for you and has incorporated these incredible discounts specifically for short-term rental hosts. And so you can be confident when you order through Minoan that you are getting, the best discounts that us as interior designers will actually receive. And so that is something that's really great. It is a really amazing money saving tool. And so although they're free, that you essentially get so much more benefit after using their service. Some other great things that they integrate into their free service is just an ease of ordering. So they have a variety of different vendors that they have that we actually select from. We love using Wayfair. Society 6 is a really incredible art print vendor that we really love to incorporate that kind of local inspiration into a lot of our different designs. And so they have all these incredible vendors kind of ranging from quality as well. So, you do have the Wayfair, some things that are a little bit more cost effective, but they also have great vendors like Crate and Barrel and Anthropology and things that do feel a little bit more designer as well. So really, determining, what your STR property requires. They have a range of vendors that you can choose from. Then the assistance in tracking and shipping. So the great thing about the ordering is even though you may choose a lot of different things, or we will choose for you a lot of different vendors, Minoan makes it very easy just to order everything all in one go. You don't have to go to lots of different storefronts. They just compile everything into one big quote, and you're able to see, all of your cost savings first with the trade discounts, but then also see, what the total is for a room or your whole property as a whole. The tracking shipping is incredible, and we do love this feature as well. With lots of ordering comes lots of tracking numbers, and it is sometimes hard to keep track of everything. If you haven't installed a property, or if you have, you definitely know that it requires a lot up front in order to order everything. You will have, thousands of dollars worth of orders and tons of boxes showing up all at once. And so having that help with the tracking of all of your shipments is so nice and so important, like as you are ordering everything. So the way that we integrate with Minoan is especially with our virtual clients. So Bri touched on, the virtual package that we offer. We have, lots of great deliverables, with that being, our design boards, the floor maps, as well as, really detailed installation tips on how to install each and every room. But the most important one is our spreadsheet. So it is our itemized shopping list for you. So we do all of the links, we put the total amounts, we put all the specifications for each individual room. And so we have partnered with Minoan, where they are now very familiar with our spreadsheet. And so when you work with us, we will hand off the design to you, give us the green light, go ahead, and then we will connect you with Minoan. And they will take our spreadsheet, create that custom quote for you, help you with the ordering process. And it's just very seamless, and you will know that you will be getting those best trade discounts. And so again, it's a really great partnership. We work very seamlessly with them. They're even able to help with sometimes out of stock items and really help you even down the road. Let's say you have to wait because of, closing logistics or things like that. Minoan is there for you to help you, determine that date of when you need everything delivered by, and they can coordinate, the ordering and the shipping for all of those products. And so I can't say enough great things about Minoan. They understand the industry, they understand STR hosts, and we're just so excited that we can offer that for all of our virtual clients. And it's a really seamless kind of partnership with us and Minoan as a company, but you as a business owner with your short-term rental property. And this is just a really amazing perk that is offered to you is using Minoan for all of these. I'm just saying these top three. There's so many more benefits of using Minoan, but I would say, those are our top three that are personal pain points that we have experienced, just an ease of that burden with Minoan.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Just to wrap up our portion, and then I know we have quite a few questions, so we want to get to that in the last 15 minutes. Wanting to show this case study and really just, the take homes of what money could be left on the table if you are falling in that average property versus going into, that strategy mode and setting your property up right from the beginning. So this is a property in Fort Lauderdale that we designed, and do not look at the left column and think that that is us, because that is not us. That is showing the before, and then on the right column is the after. So this property is a really great case study because it was an active short-term rental for a few years. And the year before our investor took it over, the property was doing $150,000 in annual revenue, which is really great. This property is in Fort Lauderdale. It's on the canal. It was a few blocks away from the beach, like really great prime location. But I don't know if it's going to read well if I zoom in. But if you look at the property design, it is what we call your home goods special, where someone just came in and put a gray sofa and put some, just fun colored pillows on there, but there's not really any rhyme or reason. Taking a look at the dining room, you wouldn't really know that this is in Florida. It doesn't have a great theme and a bedroom. So that is what we were working with. We knew 150K was great, but there was a lot of money left on the table. So we went and did our research, and we did hone in on more of this girls group, fun bachelorette. And we brought in like this fun coastal. Let me zoom in over here on so before living room, after living room, brought in some really fun colors and surfboard, and now this is at the beach, but it also is catered more for these girls groups and is a great experience. And so here, going down into the dining room, I don't have a great picture of it on this presentation, but we did an awesome photo wall with this neon sign that says high tides and good vibes, and girls love taking pictures in front of that. And so anyways, long story short, our investor came back to us after a year, and they just were over $300,000 in annual revenue, which they were mind blown. We were mind blown. I mean, we believe in our process, but this, it is really what we are seeing with our investors, that they, in this case, doubled their revenue. But in other cases, they're getting really close to that double, or really maximizing their goals because of the strategies that we talked about today. So just want to leave you with that before we get into some questions, that truly the marketing is the investment, and you would do that in any business. So really empowering you guys to stay ahead of the curve, think of this like a business. And I would say too that design, I know that it's coming right at the beginning. You're under contract, you close, and you want to get it set up right away. So people do fall into that, trap of just throwing things in there because they want to get listed right away, which we agree, we want to get you listed right away, but just take a step back, strategize while you're under contract, design, right towards the end of being under contract, and then just go in there from the beginning with your strategy and set it up right from the beginning. So with that being said, Audrey, our marketing director, has been monitoring the chat. So Audrey, we'd love to open it up to questions that you have seen and want to, highlight.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, this question was asked by Peter near the beginning. So kind of when we were talking about market research, what platforms do you use to find this data?
Hey, great question. So AirDNA, we really like using AirDNA. It's just a great way for us to look at the competition, those top properties, and also run the numbers of, here are what this group of properties, that this is their nightly rate. We take really good comps when we're conservative with our comps as well, making sure that, they are very similar, same bed count, same area, and saying, here's what they're doing. Here's what this one top property is doing. AirDNA is just a great tool for many reasons. And so that's our number one. And then we use a lot of travel blogs when we're looking at the areas and just looking into the market as a whole. So I would say those are our top two.
Okay, awesome. Next question was asked by Caitlin. How do you handle trends versus timeliness or timelessness?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so one thing that we do is, again, like going back to that market research, we'll look at the area and see what trends are lasting. So I'm going to use like Palm Springs, for example. It is a vacation rental mecca. There are so many vacation rentals, and it is a place where people have been traveling to for so many years. And so when we take a look at Palm Springs, for example, it has that mid-century modern aesthetic that is, tried and true. It is kind of known in that city for that mid-century modern aesthetic. And so we'll probably incorporate that into the overall design. We'll incorporate some iconic, landmarks into the design, to those things that we would know, about that location. And so that is one way that we really determine, okay, what is, tried and true, what is, consistent in this area, and then really take kind of like a fresh take on it. And so you do have to be a little bit tactile of like, okay, what are the trends that are fleeting, and then what is timeless? And so just again, going back to that research, seeing what is consistent. Like another example, like, the Poconos, it's a vacation rental hub, again, that people have been traveling to for so many years. And we've just been noticing trends of, younger individuals or younger families who want something a little bit more fresher and new. So we'll still do, a cabin aesthetic, but in a very fresh way. And so we can still bring in, fun elements that feel, timeless. And so looking to inspiration, like, the local inspiration, boutique hotels, restaurants, those are the things that are tried and true. And you can look to them as inspiration and incorporate that into the design.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Another question from Peter, but I think this encompasses a lot of other questions that I've seen in the chat. How do you figure out how much to spend? Is there a formula you like to use to determine budgets?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, as investors ourselves, we are very sensitive of budget, and we want to make sure it makes sense. We're not here just to spend your money. We don't want to do that. But then, like I said, on that bell curve, we don't want to fall short of what your market needs. So it is market specific. If we're in Nashville, that is a very saturated, competitive market. Not to say you can't go in there and crush it, but you're probably going to spend more in Nashville than you would in San Antonio, Texas. So it's really looking at the markets and what is needed in that area. And then also using AirDNA and those numbers of running those investment analysis. We have an investment analysis spreadsheet that we will run different case scenarios and say, okay, we're investing this much. We're going to add a hot tub, and here is the cost for a hot tub. Here are your different line items, and how does that reflect in your overall investment? Because if you're adding these amenities or this extra design element, then it is going to increase your nightly rate. But we want to make sure we're adding like the impactful things. If we say we're going to do a full kitchen renovation, but we don't feel confident that it's going to affect or tick the nightly rate up enough to justify that kitchen renovation, then we probably won't do it, and maybe just make a few tweaks like cosmetic upgrades to make the kitchen look good. But anyways, it's not an exact formula. It's just looking at each market and relying on that investment strategy spreadsheet to run the numbers and just find that right happy medium where we feel confident that what we are putting into the property is going to achieve the goals that we want. As far as cash flow or cash on cash return or, whatever the goals may be.
Yeah. And so I just want to add to that we actually do that in our free consultation. So it is, no commitment to us, but hop on a call with us and we'll run a full underwriting and analysis of your property and really determine, okay, what budget is appropriate for this specific area.
Awesome. Okay, another really important question. Rachel asks, how long is your process taking you from starting market research to implementation of design or sending deliverables for the virtual design package?
Yeah, okay. I love that question. So we definitely know that time is of the essence. You know, you want to get your property up and running as quickly as possible. And so once you schedule that free consultation with us, we will get you on the design calendar. And usually we can get you on the design calendar within, you know, a couple weeks. And so once you start the process with us, you sign on, we do about a week of kind of our due diligence. We get a Matterport scan out there of your property so we can get all of the measurements of the property, and then we start the market research phase. So you can probably account for, you know, a few days to a week before you hop on with us. So we can do our due diligence, but the actual design process is only 2 weeks. So our team, we jump in, you know, heads down, design the entire property, do all the design boards, main deliverables, spreadsheet, everything. And so from the start of the design process to when you will get your deliverables is just 2 weeks. We do say after that 2 week process, you know, once you are you know, ready to start implementing all the designs, we only source things that are in stock and ready to ship. So again, going back to Minoan and how they can really help you with the ordering process, you know, we have you set up an account before our deliverable is sent to you, so you can just hit the ground running, share that spreadsheet with them, and they'll help you get that up and running right away. So we say once you get the designs, you can ideally get the property up and running within about 5 weeks.
All right, awesome. Do you take it, this is from Susanna. Do you take into consideration design versus functionality? For example, drinks spilled on the sofa in bachelorette parties or kid-friendly rentals for each place?
Yeah, definitely. So like Bri mentioned, like we design with management in mind. And so we only do things that are performance fabric, that are, you know, washable and durable. And so knowing that it's a short-term rental property, we kind of keep in mind and have a strategy of more of a hospitality approach. So when you go to a hotel, you know, obviously there isn't going to be, you know, this beautiful white chair that will just get easily stained. So we do take into consideration, okay, what are the ideal guests? You know, is it going to be kids? And we'll probably have maybe a little bit of a darker sofa that won't show stains as easily. So we definitely take into consideration, you know, performance fabrics, polyester, you know, things like that that are really easy to clean and are very, very durable. So yes, we definitely do. And that is part of our strategy with STR design.
All right, awesome. I also like this question from Surendra, and I've seen this reflected a few times. Would like to know more about the design audit process for existing rentals. So Airbnb redesigns.
Yeah. So you're saying the audit process, like for,
Probably consultation is what's meant. Audit, yeah, just like
okay. Yeah.
strategies
So
for redesigns.
I'll touch back on that. What our free consultation looks like is, well, first and foremost, how to get on a free consultation is to go to our website, go to contact us, and fill out a form. We have 2 calls available. If you just want more information, then we'll get on an intro call. But at that point, if you don't have a property, we can't dive deep into the full consultation because there's no property to talk about. So we'll just do an overview of our services. But if you do have a property, whether that be an existing property that you're looking to redesign or a brand new property that you're under contract on, we will, the consultation, what it looks like is an audit, like you said, of the property. So we are going to underwrite your property, and our main objective is to look at how much should be, what the budget should be, how much we should be spending on this home to reach your goals. So we're going to present the investment analysis and write down the line items that we see fit. You know, this is a high level, so we are going to be very conservative with our numbers and talk on a high level of what furniture budget should look like, what amenities we might be adding, what contractor work should go into the home. And then we're going to be taking a look at the nightly rates that we believe that you can achieve based on AirDNA, based on other comps in the area, and what occupancy we believe you can achieve, and just what that looks like for your overall investment. One other thing to add to the consultation, you know, we're happy to walk through your property and have, you know, give some suggestions. But at that point, because we haven't done the research yet, it is a little bit more of just conceptual ideas at this point. We like to save more of the specifics for after we've done our due diligence and our research. Then we get more into like, here's the specific strategy that we want to propose.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bri. Let's do kind of a fun amenity one. What outdoor amenities do you recommend for a Midwestern urban market with long winters? This question's from Myra.
Ooh, Midwestern, hard winters. That is a little bit harder because, we like outdoor amenities are usually, we want to make sure that it will lead to ROI. So we will look and see, okay, what percentage of the year can people spend outside, and does it make sense in order to invest in, let's say like a putting green, or does it make sense to maybe invest more on like the interior of the property? So again, like we'll jump into that, but some fun amenities that we have done, I think a hot tub is always something that is at top of the list, whether it be summer or spring, fall, winter, people love to go outside, spend time together in the hot tub. And that's something that usually really makes sense and pencils out in terms of overall return on that investment. We do love adding putting greens, especially if it's in a location where maybe you are in close proximity to a golf course, or that maybe a boys group will travel to your location. We really do love adding putting greens. Fire pits are also a really great year-round amenity. So you can get warmth during the winter, but then during the summer, it's so fun to, roast s'mores and things like that. So I would say, those are probably our top 3 amenities that we usually recommend. Sometimes regardless of the market, those 3, like we really do see a consistency with success in investing in those. Bri, would you add any others?
No, I think you hit those top 3. And then the ones that are more unique, I mean, we can look at the market and determine that. I'll call out one, trending amenity is not putting greens, you just said, pickleball courts. And this is because, if we're targeting a family or a friend group, it's a trending activity just in general, but that is going to make someone tick to say like, wow, we can have a private pickleball court in the backyard and play together. It's all about getting in the mindset of that, the renter, the person who is going to purchase, or rent the property. And if that's going to get them excited and choose your property over another, then that's maybe a great investment.
Okay, awesome. This question is from Nicole. How do you market for a suburb of a major city? We're in Vancouver and minutes away from Portland, as an example.
Yeah. Major cities like that, Atlanta or Vancouver or Seattle, where there's just a variety of reasons people are traveling here. It's not so much of a vacation destination, but more just like, constantly coming in and out of that city. We will most likely broaden the target audience scope and incorporate, a variety of groups that will feel comfortable in the home. So the strategy is to still have a standout design, something that's unique and local inspired, but make sure it's not so narrowed down to maybe a girls group, for example, that, anyone could travel there and be excited and feel comfortable in the home.
Okay, awesome. I've seen a few versions of this question as well, so it seems like it's sort of top of mind. Tanveer asked, have you worked with, or no, Yash asked, would you do a design audit or consultation if we already have an existing rental and can't redesign the whole home from scratch? So how do we handle like partial design?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I mean, it really is case by case, but usually we do see somewhat of a full redesign every time. Maybe it's not that we're replacing all the furniture, because we don't want to replace furniture if that doesn't make sense. If there's a bed that we can reuse and incorporate into a new design. But like I said, we typically do like to touch on each space to make sure it's consistent throughout the property. So it may not be replacing furniture, but updating a paint color, adding artwork, to keep that consistency throughout. So if it's partial redesign, it probably isn't completely partial, but it's just more heavy on amenities, like adding a game room or updating the backyard, and then just touches throughout the home.
Okay, I think we're at 11. Do you guys want to do another, or should we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I think we can wrap.
Okay.
Jen, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, I just want to address the question in the chat. There will be a recording sent out of this call. And you guys will also receive a copy of Bri and Jordan's new ebook, which is super exciting. So please keep an eye out on your email inboxes for those. And again, I just want to thank Bri, Jordan, and Audrey so much for being here today and presenting. It was amazing. I'm a host myself, and I'm already planning on taking all these tips. So thank you guys. And thanks to everyone who attended. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So much.